Hiroshima from my rental. It is close to 9 o'clock in the morning, I believe. Yes, it is just 2 minutes before 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm opening some windows here to get some nice airflow through the house. And I noticed that some of my neighbors are out right now cleaning up some of the weeds and the grass right now. They're digging it up, cutting it up, and burning it. And I got up early this morning to chat with a friend of mine who's in Louisiana. There we go. Now I've got the air flowing. This is my view from the back. You can see. I'll give you a 180 view, but I'll give you the best view I can from this angle. There we go. All right. The other side over there, the other side of the room, I need to open those up right quick. Open the windows, get some airflow going through the house. So I'm going to go do that right now. I woke up early this morning because a friend of mine called me from Louisiana, and he and I chatted for a while about my friend's business in Kagawa. This is related to Akiya stuff, by the way. Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty clip. That's a cute clip. It's like a bow. A Hello Kitty bow clip. I'm gonna put that right there and open this. This is my neighbor's house. I'm not gonna disturb their privacy. I just want to open this up a little bit. I've got this here, this privacy screen, so I can open this up and have a little privacy. But I'm gonna. Oh, they're locked. I want to unlock this one. Just a little key. You screw it out and it folds down, and then you can open that up. I just want to get this open just to get some airflow. Sometimes I open the front door. This is the... Oh, Daniel and Yuka. Peppy. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to say hi, because it's Golden Week. And I'm doing the vertical video just because it's easier to move around. I'm doing a little cleaning. And I'm about to make some more coffee. And I just wanted to tell everybody hello and happy Golden Week. So Peppy, I hope you're having a great week wherever you are. And Daniel and Yuka and Child, I hope you're all having a wonderful Golden Week as well. I've been so busy with school, I've barely managed to see anyone else's videos or the live streams. I'm just studying my butt off every day, and it's so busy. I've got a JLPT test, my first one coming up in July, and so I've got to really get to studying to pass that. But yeah, you're right. The Genkan here. Oh, I need this. I've got this old curtain hanging here, so it's difficult to keep that door closed. But yeah, that's the stairway that goes upstairs. But yeah, my Genkan here is pretty nice. It's not nearly as large as the Genkan at my Kominka, but this one obviously is much more functional because not only does it have a lockable door and a clean, and actually it's actually clean. It has a floor, a real floor, not just dirt and concrete. It's I can sweep it, I can mop it. I've got a place to store shoes, but right now I only have one pair here. I've got my other pair of shoes at the back door. But it's just a nice, clean entryway. So it's nice to have this here. And I've got one bag of plastic trash ready to go and one burnable trash ready to go. That's going out Monday, and that's going to have to wait a couple more days, but it's no big deal. I just put it there as a reminder to grab it on the way out the door. Which JLPT are you doing? Um, I am just going to be doing the lowest one, and that's all I can expect to hopefully pass right now is just N5 because um, since I'm on a student visa, I have to be able to at least pass, the lowest level test to show progress. You can't keep your student visa if you just keep failing the tests, right? It's not the way it works. So there's some pass the test. So I think over the next year, if I pass the N5, and then the next test isn't like in December, I think, and if I pass the N4, the government's happy. That's good enough. But that's basically where I'm at right now. I haven't taken any of the tests, so if I can pass N5, I'll be happy with that. I sat the N4 after just 3 months school, but didn't pass. Oh, yeah. There's no way I can do the N4 right now. I just missed too much school, to be honest. Because of last year going into the hospital, I was supposed to start studying in October of last year, but I went into the hospital in September and was there for 2 months. And when I finally did get out, I had to go home and recover. It took me a while to become mobile again. And when I finally was able to go back to school, it was January. So I missed about 20 lessons from the first book. But they were almost done with the first book by the time I got to school. That's a ton of kanji, vocabulary, and grammar that I missed out on. But let me turn this around right quick. I look a little rough right now. Sorry about that. This is what happens when I'm studying. Seriously, I just don't shave. You know, I I get so focused on doing the main things that I need to do. Shaving becomes. I mean, my hair grows out really fast, but shaving kind of falls on the back burner because it's not a priority for me, and I'm not kissing anybody, so there's no one to complain about that right now. Uh, Especially that was bad enough when I was married a long time ago, but yeah, I think in Japan it's even worse. The girls here really don't like for me to have sandpaper on my face when they kiss me. Well, this is the last bit of my previous cup of coffee. It is just too cold, so I'm about to make some more. It's a little chilly in the house. That's the thing about these Japanese houses is that they get cold so easily. And it's kind of nice because during the summer it's really cool, but during the winter time it's so difficult. Yeah, that's why you got to have these really big futon blankets and stuff. But let me turn this around. You can kind of see. I'll show you the view from the kitchen. Just a nice, quiet Saturday. Very quiet. And I have to be rather quiet when I'm talking because I think if I talk louder than this, they're going to hear me. Look over here. Let's see, where can I put this so it's not intrusive? Okay, I think I have the solution. There we go. Excellent, perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna make more coffee. One of my friends from Germany, his name is Till, gave me two bags of German coffee. Are you guys familiar with this? It's my first time to ever have any German coffee ever. And this is one of the bags he gave me. The other one is a limited edition. I haven't opened it yet. So I'm looking forward to trying that one. Yeah, seems Inaka. It does. Onomichi is a small town. So it's It's not a bustling metropolis by any means, but where I'm located right now is kind of north. The main part of the town, the city, is on the Seto Island Sea. On the shoreline, they have docks and factories and stuff down there. But that's south of here, and actually, you probably can't hear the rumble on the camera, but every few minutes you hear a rumble here, and it's because Shin, the Shinkansen station is just like a 5-minute walk from right here. So it is kind of the outer, a little bit of the outer area of the main part of the city, but it's also very close to the Shinkansen station, so it's interesting. It is chill. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You saw that. Pretty cool. I have the pads for a Philips Sensei. Oh, interesting. Let's see here. Where did I put? Oh, here it is. I'm just using my wire basket. I've got my really nice uh, coffee basket out in the van, but I just haven't brought everything in yet. So once again, it's one of those things that gets sacrificed when you're busy doing other things. And for me, since school has started, um, that's basically what I'm spending most of my time doing. And I decided to try something new yesterday, and I called a Hiroshima Cart baseball game live on my other channel, and it was about a 3-hour thing. I was thinking about doing it again today, but I'm not sure yet. I'll think about it. But anyway, got my filter here. From which part in Germany he comes from? I live in North Rhine-Westphalia. I believe he's either from or around Berlin, I think. Another friend of mine named Kai, he's from Germany, and he told me that Till is a city boy. The reason that we had that conversation was because we were out at my Kominka one day, and it was during the summer, and Till showed up wearing a t-shirt, shorts, and just sandals with no socks, uh, which is fine in the city, but in Inaka, in the countryside, in a Kominka and around a Kominka, and in the grass, in the forest, uh, not a very good idea. There are many animals out there in my house, out there and around that area. There are many snakes, and they're very active. I've seen many. I've killed a few of the more dangerous ones. And when he came out that day, I had already killed a snake that morning that was attacking one of my frogs. And then after he showed up, he wanted to go out to the forest and walk into the forest. And I said, like that? And he said, yeah, why not? And I said, are you not afraid of snakes? But he seemed to be completely oblivious to the concept of snakes. And later on, we saw another huge snake on the wall in front of my house. Now, it was not a poisonous snake, so I didn't bother it, but it was a very long, big snake, and it kind of surprised him. Later, when I told Kai about how Till was just walking around without any protection on his legs or feet, he said, yeah, he's just a city boy. He doesn't know anything about snakes. No white socks in his sandals. I'm not sure if he's German. Maybe he's been Japanified. Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, the coffee is not bad. I think it's pretty good. I'm very picky about coffee. I've had so many different types, and there's certain types of flavors that I just can't stand. But this one is pretty good. I like it. A friend of mine in America sent me some Louisiana coffee, and he sent me two different types of the same brand. It's the brand is called Community Coffee. It's not the most famous one in Louisiana. The Café du Monde, if you're familiar with Café du Monde, that's the most famous coffee in Louisiana, or from Louisiana. And he was going to send me some of that, but it's much more expensive than Community Coffee. Community Coffee is a bigger company, but they have a few different special flavors. Like they have a Mardi Gras blend and their regular blend. But the thing is, I've always found that their coffee is just basic, satisfying coffee. It doesn't have the bad flavor to it. It's a it's a nice it's a nice taste. It's smooth, and it's to me it's just what a standard, regular, everyday coffee should be. I understand that there are some specialty coffees and special flavors and stuff like that, and that's fine. But when I'm drinking coffee regularly, I don't always want a special coffee. I don't like the Mardi Gras coffee that I got. I actually took it to Kagawa with me, and I left it there because when I go to do some work there, I actually technically haven't started work yet. I've only been there a couple of times, but when I go down there to meet my friend and go through the warehouse and look at the old stuff there, and that's another thing that I really look forward to sharing with you guys. I want to do a live feed where I show you some of the stuff in that storage house or the storage building. I've got so much to tell you guys about that. It's so cool, and it's a job opportunity for me. The only downsides are that I'm going to school in Onomichi, and Kagawa by Shinkansen, it takes me a couple hours to get over there. Now, my friend does pay, so if I come down there to go through some of the items and do some work or whatever, I get my round trip paid for to jump on the Shinkansen, go down to Takamatsu, and go out to the house or the factory, the warehouse, and go through the stuff, sort things, take pictures, whatever, and then come back. I get paid, and my lodging is taken care of. My food is taken care of, so that whole trip doesn't cost me anything. And working that job later on, when I start to do it as a paid position, I'll get paid, but it's not much money, and it's part-time work. So unfortunately, it's not enough money to be paying full-time bills. Um, and that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. But the cool part is that for those of you who actually whoever's in the chat right now, there are only a couple of you. If it's still Pepe and Daniel and Yuka, then you guys already probably know a little bit about the recycling in Japan. If you want to throw something away, everything has a proper way to be thrown away. You can't just grab stuff like in America, for example. It's possible you have an old house and you want to level the house and rebuild it. So you can just bulldoze the whole thing, everything inside, all the furniture, all the trash and the clothes and everything, and the plastics. And the house itself can just be bulldozed down, and you can toss it all into a huge 20-foot container, and then a big truck will come and take it off and dump it in the landfill. It's that simple. And it's not really that expensive, actually. You just find a contractor to do it, and that's it. Then within a very short amount of time, you have an empty piece of land and you can build a new house. But in Japan, it's not that simple. All of the stuff inside the house has to be taken out first and sorted properly and thrown away properly. And just so you know, like for example, uh, something like this would require being thrown away it possibly in as many as 3 locations, because this is my seasoning that I use on the inside. If you're going to throw that away, that's burnable trash. You just throw that away in the burnable trash. Food items and stuff like that, burnable trash. There's a plastic spoon on the inside, and that would be non-burnable, so that goes into a different bin. this plastic bottle, it might be a PET plastic, a PET PET plastic, and if it is, then it can be put into a third pile, and that's for recycled plastics. But if it's not PET rated, then it has to go into the same pile as the spoon. So as you can see, even something like this, you can't just grab this whole thing. Oh, this is not good anymore. I don't need it. Throw the whole thing in the trash together. You can't do that. And on top of that, when you empty the food item out of here, you have to clean the plastic. You have to make sure that it's clean and dry when it's thrown away. So that's probably the most annoying part for me, is having to clean these items, because if you forget, I can actually show you what happens. Okay, this is the drink that I use every day. I have 2 boxes of it. It's 900 milliliters. It's a big bottle. You can see it's a pretty big bottle. And it has no sugar. It's a good healthy drink. It has kale, green tea, or matcha actually, and green barley leaves. But you have to shake it up. You can see the bottom, it's very dark. You have to kind of shake it up to get it nice and mixed. But after I used one of these, it still had some left, and I left it in my van like this. It was on its side, and you see that? You see how it's still got some in there? I have tried cleaning this thing out with hot water and putting soap in there and shaking it and doing everything I can, and I just can't get the rest of this out of here. And this is a PET bottle, so it can be recycled. But I'm pretty sure that if I try to recycle this bottle in this condition in my community, I will get, at the very least, some very stern frowns. So I need to go to the store and get some kind of brush to get that in there, and wash that out and clean it. And then once it's dry, then I can toss it away. Also, this has to be removed because this is not recyclable. This is tossed into the non-burnable. So this is also annoying because getting it cut off and whatever is generally not very easy. Maybe I should invent a tool that people can use to just go poop and pop it right off. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? I think so. This is what they should look like. This one is still drying. It's still a little bit wet on the inside. But I've removed the label completely. I've removed the plastic. I've removed the cap. I've cleaned it out. It looks nice and clean. Looks brand new. And it's just sitting out to dry. And once that's dry, I'll put it with the other bottles, and it'll go out on the day that they pick up plastic bottles. That's the way it should look. When you buy a drink like this in the vending machine, it's the same thing. You're supposed to take that plastic ring and cap off, take the label off, rinse it out, and have it dry, and then toss it away. Ideally, this is the way it should look when you put it into the collection boxes next to the vending machines. But 99.99% of people don't do that. It's funny because sometimes you'll see people take the cap off, and they'll throw that away separately, and then they'll put the bottle into those containers, and it still has the wrapper and the plastic ring on there. But what they don't know is that can't be recycled like that. You literally have to have it just like this. This is it. You can only have this. This can be recycled, but not with the label, not with a plastic ring, and not with a bunch of dried drink on the inside. It has to be like this. This plastic tray, if it's a PET item, it can be recycled. And so you have to put this with the recyclable trash. If it's not a PET plastic item, that means it can't be recycled. Then it has to go with regular plastic items, like a plastic bag, for example. But anyway, I'm getting used to doing this again because it's a little different out in my Kominka. because the burnable trash I can literally just put to the side and burn myself, because you can, and I do. What's the point in paying to throw it away if you can just burn it yourself? Looks like my coffee is basically ready. Nice hot cup of black coffee. And by the way, this cup, well, here it's got a little bit, I think, or is that from the picture? Part of this looks dirty, but actually it's supposed to be the steam from the coffee. This is a blendy cup, so it's cute coffee cup. Let's see here. Snakes. I think when I visit Japan, I will stay in the city. Well, if you go into the countryside, there is a high chance during the warm months that you will see snakes. I've often seen them on the roads. I've seen them going down the side of the road when I've been walking. I've seen them crossing the road when I'm driving. I've seen them dead on the road. They've been hit by cars. I think if you spend any significant amount of time in the countryside in Japan, you're gonna see deer for sure. You're gonna see some snakes, and if you're lucky, you'll get to see shishi, the wild boars. One time, I've seen a family go across the road. Big, huge mother and several little ones. It's just like the cartoons that you see in the depictions, the cute depictions you see in the stores here, where they have like the mother boar and then at least one little one with her. It's always like at least two, the mother and the child. And I thought it was funny, but there's a lot of truth to that, because wherever the mother is going, the little ones are following her around. It's very cute. But those animals, even though they are cute, very dangerous. So if you see them, tread lightly. Perhaps more dangerous than the snakes, depending on which snake you come across. But anyway, main reason for this video was to say it's in the middle of the Golden Week holiday. I just wanted to say happy holidays to everybody, and thank you for those of you who have continued to watch some of my videos. I haven't really made much recently. Evelyn from Sweden, she visited again recently, and she told me the other day that she noticed that I've been able to make some more videos, and that is true. I've made in the past month maybe 4 total, between live videos, regular videos, and shorts, and so that's not much, but it's more than usual. I'm trying to find a particular day to go out to my house, because I have some things that I need to do out there, and I'm really hoping that I can do a live video. That would be great if I can find. Right now it's just a matter of finding a time where I can actually go out there, but I would really love to be able to go out there early in the morning and make a video. That way it's at a good time for most of my viewers and for me on a weekend, but I'm not sure when I'm going to have the opportunity to do that. As far as I want to come over here and sit down. This corner over here is pretty nice. Got the screen over here, and I've got the little chair on the floor. The only chairs in the house that are actually not on the ground are the dining room chairs. So with my legs and in their poor condition, it's a little difficult for me to sit in other places of the house, but I will give it a try. Okay, there we go. Anyway, what I've got coming up, and this is kind of what I wanted to share a little more about. I mentioned bits of it earlier, is the part-time work, which is supposed to lead to some full-time work later on. I've got 1 year left of school. I've got JLPT test coming up, of course, in July, probably another one in December, and then I'll finish April of next year. I'm sorry about the notification. I didn't turn my... I think I might be able to do it now, actually. Yeah, I can do that. I can mute my phone. Okay, good. Actually, I'm getting a message from my friend in Kagawa, and essentially, she runs a recycling center. And this is your typical Japanese recycling center. It's a it's a small factory, and it has one big smokestack. And whenever I've been there on a weekday, there during the workday, there's a line of people driving out there, and there are cars lined up waiting, and they're loaded up with all sorts of stuff. And a lot of the stuff they're bringing are big items like furniture, because you can't just take a piece of furniture and set it out by the curb. You can't do that. It's so funny because in my hometown in the US, it didn't matter what we wanted to throw away. If it was a bag of old food scraps, or if it was an old dresser or a desk or a television even, we would just put it out by the curb and they would pick it up and take it. Where it went from there, it might have been a landfill. I don't know, but that was the way things were done. And here, there's no such thing as that. When you do throw things away, some of those things, yes, can be set out and they're picked up by the local trash collectors. But they have to be divided. Like I said before, everything has to be divided into its proper group, and it has to be put out properly and at the proper day and time. So, for example, if it's the burning day, today's burnable day, and tomorrow's plastics day, and you put out your plastics today because maybe you think you don't have time or don't want to go put them out tomorrow, you know, they might say something to you about that, but at the very least, they're not going to touch it. They're not going to touch it until the next day. So, but like I said before, there's also a particular way to throw everything away and to have everything prepared. And one of the things you definitely cannot do is just take your old TV outside and set it on the curb and expect for it to get picked up, or an old lazy boy or an old sofa. You can't do stuff like that. It just doesn't work here. So large items and special items and things like that, you would just load them up and take them down to the recycle center and drop them off yourself. And that's the type of business my friend runs. And the interesting thing is, and the reason I'm telling you all this, it is connected to Akiya, okay? Very strongly. You have no idea. It's very strongly connected to Akiya, and it is a side of Akiya's in Japan that I had never really thought about before from this angle. I have often wondered about basically what happens to all this stuff. There's so many empty houses, and they have lots and lots of stuff inside that's left. You know, that stuff has to be taken somewhere, and where does that stuff go, and what do people do with it? And now I have a very strong answer to that question, which is, if it's an item that can't just be put out on a particular trash collection day, it has to be taken to the recycling center, the local recycling center, and they have to pay some money to have those things recycled. But my friend's company, they see that there's a lot of stuff coming through that's of value, uh, especially overseas. You've got a lot of traditional type Japanese items that are really cool. Some of them are 30, 40, 50, 100 years old, even older, sometimes Edo period, sometimes even older than that. Some things that are even older than 200 years old. And they've just been in these houses for a really long time. But of course, the family members or the people who get these houses now, it's likely that they're going to have that house demolished, torn down, and then rebuild it a new house. But some of these items, they can't just toss out or so easily get rid of. So the my friend's recycling company, what they'll do is they'll sometimes actually go to the house and they'll take everything out for free. And the reason they do that is because there's a lot of stuff in there that they can resell. So they'll take the junk and the burnable stuff and whatever else, all the other trash, they'll take all that out. And a lot of times there's a lot of wood, some old wood. And unfortunately, she says she told me a while back, that's one of the things that she wishes that they could figure out what else to do with. What could they do with that wood besides just toss it out? But eventually they do donate some of it or just give some of it away to these companies that use it to recycle the wood and use it for other wood products. But there's such a large amount of this old wood that it's beyond their ability to figure out what to do with it. And I thought, man, I wish I had some kind of company that could benefit from that old wood because that would be amazing to be getting all this old wood, some of it very valuable, in remaking stuff and giving it new life instead of it just being destroyed. Because that's what happens to the excess. Any leftover wood that can't go somewhere or find a home or be used or sold, it's destroyed. So it's very sad, but that's the way it is. For those of you who've driven around Japan, especially in the countryside areas, you know that there's a lot of wood stored at these houses. You can see it when you drive by. They have a lot of the wood stored next to the house. They usually have a covering over it, and there's a ton of wood out there. And this is just a small piece of the story. There's a lot more wood available than that, and it's everywhere. Because at one time, everybody had to have their own wood, their ability to cut it and use it, and repair things or build things or whatever. And so all across Japan in all these old houses and countryside areas, there's a ton and just tons and tons and tons of old wood. A lot of it cut already into lumber. At my house, I've still got tons of big planks and pieces in there. Some of them that are amazing in size and weight and density. They are huge, massive, and they're stored up in the rafters of my kura. And it's amazing looking up there and seeing all that stuff. It's been cut and placed up there like it was, ready for future use, but never found a use, and it's still up there. Imagine how much of this wood and lumber is all over Japan. My house even has a ton of bamboo stored underneath it. It's useless now. It's so dried out and cracked and brittle. There's nothing I think that it could really be used for, but it's there. And it's just another one of those things, tons of stuff that come out of these houses. So when the recycle company goes and they get all this, because she told me basically there are some times where their agreement is to just get everything out of the house. So they're responsible for everything. And of course, a lot of that stuff is useless. Um, it's just going to be destroyed and recycled or burned. And then the reason for doing this is because they're also able to keep all the stuff that has some value and potential for resale, either within Japan or outside of Japan. But they've started to accrue and gather a large amount of things that are really almost impossible to sell in Japan. And the reason is because they are they're kind of out of style, I guess you could say. And whether you're from Germany, like Pepe, you were talking about some similarities with the recycling in Germany. I'm sure in Germany it's similar because even in America it's the same way. Uh, Sometimes an American home, just like other countries, at a particular time, some types of styles and decorations in the house will become popular, and you'll start to see them everywhere. You go to visit a friend's house or a family member's house, and or a colleague's house, and you'll see something hanging on the wall, some type of popular decoration that has become a big thing in the country. Just are a very common thing in a particular area of the country. You know, it's it just happens to be. It could be a fad. It could be uh, a patriotic kind of thing, or historical thing related to the country for a certain amount of time, but then it goes away. So the only place that you'll see those things in the future is you'll see them at your grandpa and grandma's house, right? When you go visit your grandma and grandpa, they still have these things hanging on the wall, and you would never consider. Well, most people would never consider taking these 50-year-old framed art items or old fads and hanging them in their new houses, right? That's what the case is a lot of times, and it's the same thing here in Japan. So they have these items that to us as foreigners are pretty cool, but here are old and out of style, and they don't want those things, but they don't know what to do with them because they can't just toss them out with the trash. They have to take them to the recycle center. But people like my friend realize that these things still have some value. It's difficult to just toss them out, but Japanese don't want them. So that's where uh, storing them, cleaning them, and then preparing them for resale overseas has come into play, and that's kind of what I'm going to be helping them work on. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. Comments. Germany, you pay a deposit for the bottles, and you get it back when you bring the bottles back into the deposit automat or so. You know, in some places in America, they still have something similar to that, especially with glass bottles. Um, that system used to be really cool, where whenever you would get like a Coca Cola, it had a metal cap and glass bottle, and after you drank it, you could take the bottle back and get like a nickel back, and that was actually really good. If we could get a nickel for those bottles right now, that's still hard to believe that we would actually get that much right now. But back then, that was pretty good, and that was a common thing to do. Um, but it changed. Things in the U.S. Most places they're just tossing those things away now, and they're plastic. Glenn says I'm back. Welcome back. How was your visit with your family? Did everything go well? And how's the mood over there? How are you feeling today? I was just chatting about what's coming up, what's been going on, and what's kind of coming up with my Akiya related work that I'm going to be doing part time in Kagawa. Right now, it appears that I'm going to be attempting to go there about 2 weekends a month and just walk right down to the Shinkansen station. I don't have to drive down there. I can just walk there and get to Takamatsu in about 2 hours. Spend Saturday and Sunday doing work, uh, hand picking, categorizing, taking pictures of, and posting these old items from old stores and empty houses, IKEA, and people's homes, old shops, places that have been closed down or abandoned. Just a variety of stuff is really cool. I haven't taken I haven't taken many pictures or video yet, but I'm really hoping that when I go down there again later this month, I'm able to get a lot of video and pictures. And my hope is to do a live stream that's not a vertical video, by the way, something that's widescreen, 1080, with my other phone that will look really, really nice. And something that you guys will really, really enjoy. Try to help stage everything, open up the boxes so you can see all the amazing things that they have. The bottles, the sake bottles, the ni uh, ni nihonshu, the Japanese rice wine bottles, the vases, the pottery, the ceramics, the plates, the cups, the decorations, the kimonos, all the really cool stuff that have flooded into these uh, storage areas that they have. All these old things that people either can't use or don't want anymore. It's really, really cool. It's like my house on steroids, basically, where my house has hundreds of items. This factory is getting thousands of items. And it's just every day more and more. It's just growing every day. Glenn says all good, won't be online for long. More things to get done today. Weekend now and public holiday on Monday. More waiting. That's the hard part. Yeah, I get that. It's difficult when you can't just do what you need to get done, especially in a situation where you've lost somebody in the family. And yeah, I don't know how your family is when they're visiting together and you're waiting for something like that, but I think if I were in a situation like that with my family, they would kind of go stir crazy because we can't be together for a long time and be patiently waiting for something uh, and enjoy it. It would be better to just kind of show up at the last moment, participate in the event, and then kind of be on the way. Not the crockery cupboard again. You're gonna have nightmares about that for a long time. I still haven't tackled that cupboard in there, the one that's kind of blocking that back door. I took the lazy route instead. I've been using my front door where the Genkan is, which is not only more spacious but nicer. I can actually sit down and put my shoes on, and when I go in and out, I can leave the door unlocked. Easy to slide open, easy to close, huge area, easy to bring in bags, or take out trash. Don't have to squeeze through there. So I actually haven't cleaned out those cupboards or moved anything because I kind of feel like maybe it's unnecessary if I'm going through the front door. Peppy says, I'm not a guy who's following some friends or so. I have my own taste. It's the same with music for me. I hear what I like. I don't change my music taste. I only expand it. Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, with some exceptions, like American country music, I've never liked. And, well, let me rephrase. The original American country music I could listen to. There's some old bands and singers that are considered country music, but these are traditional country music, like the band Alabama, if you've ever heard of the band called Alabama. To me, that's real country music. But when the modern pop country rolled around when I was in high school, it was garbage. I couldn't stand it. The twang and the style of it, I always hated it, and I still dislike it. So I can't listen to it, and I never will. I know I won't. Um, and there's some other music that I don't. There's some other music I don't really get into, like hardcore rap. I listen to hip hop on a very, very limited basis, and most of what I listen to is old stuff that came out a long time ago. I don't listen to anything new. So when it comes to rap and hip hop and stuff, if it's new, I probably don't know it unless it's just become really big and I can hear it somewhere. But I've expanded my musical taste too. Uh, I I started listening to a lot of independent artists, European artists, and some interesting cross crossover type music where they combine a couple of different styles. And one of my favorite groups to listen to now is Heilong, which is it's a very difficult group to explain, but they use a lot of natural things for their, or maybe all natural things for their music. They actually use bones and animal skins and things like that to make their music, and they use very old language that's basically dead language in a lot of their lyrics. And they have like a shaman who participates in writing their music and he does a lot of the vocals, but they also have a female singer who has an absolutely gorgeous voice, and it just all blends together really well. And I love to listen to it when I'm writing my stories because it really kind of helps me to depict the scenes in my head. Glenn says one crockery cupboard a year is enough for anyone. Yes, that's right. And I'm not really sure I'm quite ready to tackle. I'm not really sure I'm ready to tackle this one in here. Like I said, if I don't have to do it, then I don't want to do it. After all, this is a rental, and I do want it to be comfortable and usable and as nice as possible. But at the same time, if my plan is to be here primarily during school, and if that is the maximum that I will be here, I think putting a lot of effort into moving the cupboard and all of that, and then 12 months later, to be gone, maybe it's not worth it. Yes, that's right. Um, that's correct, Peppy. Yeah, when I see that, all I can think is Heilong or Heilung. I'm not absolutely sure of the pronunciation, but that's the band. I love them. They're great. Yes, you're right, Glenn. A year will go by quickly, especially when your nose is to the grindstone, when you're busy, even if it's work. Before you realize it, several months can fly by, and then suddenly a year has gone by, and it's like, holy crap, it. So I've learned that 1 year is it's not a long time. It goes by pretty quick. Let me check my battery. Yeah, I just realized I had a long video chat with a friend of mine earlier, and my battery got down to like 50%. This is a really terrible old phone that I'm using right now, and I'm going to get my charger. I didn't know how long I was going to make this video, but I wanted to share those specific things with you guys and let you know. Sorry about this. I got trying to plug this in. There we go. This house has a lot more plugs than my Kominka, so that's nice. It's nice when I look around and I see an outlet on every wall in the room. That's a huge improvement. But now I've got my power going. But yes, my schooling here in Onomichi will end in April of next year. So about just a little over 11 months from now. And so getting this house here was good timing because the way it will work out is that at the end of my 1 year here in the house will be just after I finish my schooling, which I think is perfect timing. It gives me a chance to, get my things together. Um, I don't know if I'll be here for longer or if I'm going to be going back closer to Hiroshima or if I'm going to Kagawa to do the full time work there. There are some different possibilities, and I won't pretend to know the future. I will just go with the flow and go the direction that I feel in my gut that I need to go. Let's see here. Peppy says they have members from Denmark, Germany, and Norway. I got Heilung recommended a few months ago. Awesome. I started listening to them a couple of years ago, and at the time I thought, why haven't I heard of them before? Because it's right up my alley. But I really got addicted to their stuff. They really have some awesome music, just really great stuff. If I were to have one of my dreams come true, it would it would be to make a really big trilogy fantasy movie series based on some stories that I have created and have them do the soundtrack. I think that would be absolutely amazing. But once again, that's just a dream I have. Who knows? I mean, according to some sources, I'll be lucky to be around another couple of years. Um, you know, so who knows what I'll be able to accomplish? Man, Kagawa, you like it over there, Peppy? Takamatsu is a really nice city. I've been there now 4 times. When I was in China, they they set up some international flights from Shanghai to Takamatsu, and it made it very easy and cheap for me to fly from China to visit Japan. So I visited Takamatsu once, and I hung around the city there. They have wonderful gardens. I highly recommend their gardens and the beautiful castle area. It's just gorgeous. But the second time I went there, I took the train over to Naruto. And the main reason I wanted to visit there is because it's named after my favorite anime character. And the creator of Naruto did take some inspiration from that area because of the swirl. That's what basically Naruto is that swirl. If you notice that fish cake, that slice that they put in some of the ramen noodles, and it looks like it has a little swirl on the inside. That's called Naruto, and they integrate that into the show. But the town of Naruto, it's like right on the ocean. There's a bridge that goes across, and when the tide goes in and out, it causes whirlpools, swirls in the water. And what the cool part is that you can actually take a boat out there, and the boat will go through the swirl, and it'll kind of spin the boat around. It's it's kind of interesting, but you can pay to go out and do that. To me, it seems like a recipe for disaster, but it's not. Apparently, it's not too dangerous. Uh, Kagawa is the one prefecture I enjoyed and want to focus on in later visits. I highly recommend it. I haven't been to a lot of places in that area, but I am quite fond of Takamatsu City and that area around there. It's very nice, and I don't know. Once again, I don't know what the future holds, and I do absolutely plan on continuing to renovate my Kominka and turn it into a place where people can rent and stay, which I do believe is a very good. It's still a very good plan for business opportunity for me. I absolutely do believe that. It's just that it's going to be a matter of money, really. What I'm able to accomplish and how soon I'm able to accomplish it. It just depends on money. Um, let's see here. Ritsurin Garden is wonderful. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. It is, and it's well known. I don't like it. I love it. Shrine in the Sky. Gotcha. Wow, it sounds like you have some strong experience with it. That's awesome. Do you have you guys had the udon? Because that's probably the most popular food that was mentioned to me over and over was Kagawa udon. And finally, even though I had been to the area several times, it wasn't until my last trip last weekend that I finally had udon. So I went with my friend to one of the local shops that she really likes, and I had a nice big bowl of delicious udon, Kagawa udon, and I brought back some omiyage, a little gift for my good neighbor Mibu-san, and maybe he's gonna watch this video, and if you do, uh, thank you for being such a helpful and kind neighbor. I hope you enjoy the udon. Pippi says, my favorite soccer club in Germany had a Japanese soccer player. His name was Shinji Kagawa. Awesome guy and player. That's great. Well, yeah, I think that any Japanese player that makes it in that league or the European leagues must be really good, right? I think so. I did have a friend well, I say a friend, it's more like an acquaintance that I met in Tokyo several years ago, and he worked for one of the Premier League teams as kind of a Japanese player scout and cultivator. He worked with the younger kids, and his job was to try to identify the players that could possibly become professional, and then maybe later on come up through the ranks of the Premier League team, and maybe if they were good enough to go play for the team later on. But he said he was never, in his many years of working in that position, he was never able to recommend even one player, and he blames that on the way society is in Japan. And I'm sure even foreigners are familiar with the concept that permeates a lot of Asian countries, which is like the blade of grass that stands up will get cut down. So the person who stands out or stands apart from the others or makes himself um, too unique, too different, um, it generally isn't taken very well in Japan and even in China. There are several Asian cultures. It's just not something you're supposed to do. And the result of that on the soccer field in Japan is that, let's say you have a 15-year-old soccer player who's like a phenom. He's a soccer genius. He's got tons of talent. He's amazing. He can run faster, move the ball better. Um, his passing ability and shooting ability is just stellar. Just obviously far beyond the other players. But unfortunately, because this is Japan, he won't be encouraged and pushed to become that awesome pro player like he could be. His full potential will never be reached unless he's able to get out of Japan and go to a country that will. You could say a Western country. Seriously, he needs to go to a Western country, or perhaps even a South American country. So European, South American, these places would definitely cultivate his talents a lot better than here in Japan. And the reason is because here it's more about plugging into the entire level of the team, the entire way you work equally with the rest of the team. And of course, you can't win if you have one great player who's being governed down and limited because the rest of he has to play equally on the same level as the rest of his team. And if he's not on their level and he's being made to play on their level and not shine because they don't want him to stand out, then that team is not going to do as good and that player is not going to get the recognition and reach his full potential. And that really sucks. And so that guy told me that he wishes that he could go back to England and work there because um, it was much more enjoyable. He didn't have that kind of social pressure stuff to deal with in England. So every place has its ups and downs, but that's one thing I do hope could change because there are some really great players here, and they could be so much better than what they are. But if they make the other players look less or look bad because they're so good, then they're told to, you know, tone it down, and that causes them to miss out on really amazing life opportunities. Um, let's see here. Have seen some good houses in that part of Shikoku. Yeah, there's some nice stuff out there, and the onsens are really cool. There's one there called Inoshishi, and they have the mother wild boar and the child boar, and it's a really cool little place. It's not a natural onsen, but they do have the electric, like the denki. They put the electricity in the water, and then they have these little caves that you squat down and you walk into on the inside. It's basically a sauna, but it's like a natural sauna. With the way they build it. It's like stone, and it looks like a little cave. It's very dark on the inside, and it's pretty interesting. Let's see here. The greater good is more important than the individual. The nail that stands out gets hammered down. You're exactly right. That's the concept. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down, and that's the way it's done here. You don't even want to wear the bright colored tie. You don't want to be the guy wearing the red tie or the blue tie. Everyone else is wearing black. You have to blend in. If you wear that different tie, even something as simple and as that, it's just too much individuality. You're saying that you're special, and that actually reminds me of something that happened recently at my school, where they were showing us the schedule, the upcoming study schedule. And this is a good example for those of you who haven't experienced living in Japan and dealing with some of the cultural things. This is a good example of where the misunderstanding comes in about between you as a Western foreigner and Asian culture things, because less than a couple of weeks ago they were talking about the upcoming holiday schedule, and right before that we had some special things going on, and I wasn't understanding. They were explaining it all in Japanese, and I couldn't understand but bits and pieces of it. And they mentioned a job seminar, but it sounded to me like a job fair, where they were going to have companies come here and talk to us about potentially recruiting us so that whenever we were finishing up with school, or maybe while we're in school, we could work part time, and when we finished up, we could go work for these factories or companies. And of course, I wasn't interested in that at all, unless they are going to show me a movie company. I'm not interested. I definitely, I'm 49 years old. When I finish school, I'll be 50. There's no way I'm going to be going to work on an assembly line in a factory. It's just not going to happen. So when I was hearing this presentation, I thought, I'm not interested in that. I need to figure out what it is. I need to find out more about what this is, and if it's something that I have to go to, if it's something that I have the choice of not going to, and should I go to. And so I asked them these questions after the meeting. So basically, my questions are: what is this? Do I have to come to it? Do I have the option of not coming to it? What's the benefit if I come to it? These are legitimate questions, right? But the core of all my questions was, I just wanted to understand. That's all. Because I didn't understand when they were talking about it in the meeting. And so afterwards, I wanted to understand it. And as I was trying to understand it with the school leader and one of the teachers, they told me, well, you're not more special than the other students. You can't just not come to this. You have to come to this. You're not more special than they are. You're not different than they are. And I said, excuse me? I just want to understand. I literally am just trying to understand what this is. And once I understand what it is, if I don't see a benefit for me to be there, my next question is, do I have to come to it? Okay? That's all I'm asking. If you and I gave them an example. If you tell me next week we're going to have class on Sunday, it doesn't make any sense because we never have class on the weekend. We only have Monday through Friday class. So if you tell me we're going to have class on Sunday, I want to know why. It doesn't mean I think I'm special and I don't have to come here on Sunday. That's called an assumption. So they assumed that I was just saying, I don't have to come here, for this job seminar. I'm above all that, and looking down my nose at everyone else. It was such a ridiculous situation, and it caused me to come home and send a long email back to them to let them know, to first of all explain the situation that I was just wanting to understand, and to get information about it and find out, like I said, if I had to come to it, what was the benefit of coming to it? If I didn't have to come to it, should I come anyway because it might benefit me, etc., etc. But they completely missed all that because they thought that by me asking all these questions, and I was the only one to be asking all these questions. Everybody else sat through the meeting, just kind of nodded and left. But these are kids from high school to university age, most all of them. Some of them almost no education. They're all working in the factories locally part time while they're going to school. I'm not like them. I'm not saying that I'm more special than them, but I am special in that I am not like them. I'm not their age. I'm not in their situation. I'm not doing the work that they're doing. I'm not here on a factory study program through the government like they are. So I am completely different and special in that regard. But I'm not special in that I think that I should be given, good, extra nice treatment in the red carpet. But to them, me asking questions was like the nail sticking up, and they tried to hammer that down. And of course, being the typical American that I am, I couldn't have that. So I was nice, I wasn't rude or anything, but I did email them and tell them that they mishandled the situation. They made me look bad in front of some of the other students with some of their comments, and that they owed me an apology, and they owed me an explanation about what the event was about. And a couple of days later, when I went back to school, they did have a sit down meeting with me and explained it all to me, but I didn't get an apology, so they refused to do that, I guess. Let's see here. Let's get caught up. Pepe says my favorite soccer club can reach the Champions League final. They played 1-0 against Paris Saint Germain in Dortmund. Next week they're playing in Paris. Awesome, man! Congratulations! It's really cool. It's not easy. It's really not easy for these teams to get all the way to the final games. It's a big accomplishment. Even if they don't get to the final, it's a big accomplishment. That's a lot of work. So it's nice when your team makes it that far. Daniel Yuka says they sell so many cool ties here in Japan, though. Oh, really? Yeah, but I haven't been wearing ties in a long time. Something I'm actually happy about because when I was teaching, I had to wear a tie. Back in the U.S., when I was managing, I had to wear a tie, and it's like I was always having to wear a tie because I was forced to wear a tie. And I don't want to be forced to wear a tie. I want to wear a tie because I want to wear a tie. And when I do wear a tie, I do want to wear a cool tie. One of the ties you're talking about, something that's cool. A long time ago, I used to have a Star Wars tie, and it was actually a very dressy tie. It was black, and all of the colors were more elegant style. Like instead of yellow and orange, it was like gold, and had silver. The ships flying through space were like silver, and it was a really cool tie. It was one of my favorite ties for a long time before Disney got a hold of Star Wars. I didn't. I would be caught dead in one of those ties. Subtle otaku ties. Man, I can guarantee you, even if I wore something as simple as let's say it was a blue tie, and I don't mean like a really dark navy blue tie, and I don't necessarily mean like a neon blue tie, but maybe something in between, a little bright, a little too bright. If I wore something like that when I was teaching in my ALT position, I guarantee you that it would be mentioned to me. Is I probably need to wear a less obnoxious tie, probably. Uh, a factory line job, dream big. Yes, man, I can only dream about what it would be like to maybe maybe here in Onomichi I could help on an assembly line putting icing on the lemon cakes, on the little lemon cakes. If I could put the icing on there, that would be a dream come true. And maybe, or even better, taste tester. So I could just sit there all day as the cakes are coming through. I have to taste test every 100th cake. So the 100th one comes through. I grab it. I take a nice bite of it. Moist, sweet, good taste. everything's okay. Toss the rest away. Wait for the next one to come, the next 100th one to come and try that. That would be a dream job, right? I do know a lot of Chinese friends and former students who think those types of jobs are the best, where you're literally just sitting there for a really long time. You can just look at your phone and do nothing and get paid for it. It's like a dream job. But to me, this is slow death. I can't stand, because I had a high paying job. If I had that job here, it would be a good job, be a perfect job to have in a place like Tokyo or Osaka or even Hiroshima City. Any place like that would be a perfect job because I would have things to do, places to go. But I was in Beijing and I was the private tutor to a celebrity, and the pay was really, really good. But I had none of my close friends around me. The city's very dirty. I couldn't leave Beijing because I had to be available at a moment's notice, but I had tons of free time. So I could go and do whatever I wanted most of the time. I could stay at home and do stuff. I could sleep in if I wanted to, or I'd stay up late, or whatever. I just had to make sure that I was always available during regular daytime hours, right? So that maybe between 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock during those hours, I had to be reachable and local, because at any time they might message me and say, hey, the celebrity's going to be over here working on this project for a few hours. You can go over there right now and you can work with him on his English. And so I just put on my shoes, go get on the train and or the subway and go over there and meet with them and hang out. Sometimes he'd be on a movie set for several weeks at a time, so they'd put me in a hotel room. I'd go stay at the hotel room for a few weeks, and these are nice hotels, 5-star hotels, so very nice. It sounds like a wonderful job, but the problem is that I didn't like Beijing. It's not a good place to live. It's dirty. The pollution is bad, and when you can't go anywhere and you don't have any close friends there, it really sucks because, like I said, it doesn't matter that you're getting paid a lot. You need to be able to do other things. If I had that job here, it'd be perfect because even if I had to stay in Hiroshima, there's still the Shinkansen. They're still driving, and I know some people here. It would be really nice, even if they were like, even if I were in Kagawa and they said, "Hey, we need you to go over here," it would be no problem to just go hop on the Shinkansen and go back to Hiroshima. It wouldn't be a big deal, but much different. It's not being American, it's being older and far more mature than the fellow students. Yeah, you're right. The reason I say it's being an American is because, and maybe even just being uh, many types of Westerners, where we're much more direct and not willing to lay down and take take the crap, because that's what it really is. It's crap. And my good Japanese friends, they'll admit to me, yes, you're right, this is crap, but we don't want to rock the boat, or we can't really do anything about it. So on the inside, we agree with you, but we're not gonna really do anything about it on the outside. But therein lies the problem. If people here don't start actually speaking up and doing something, then it will definitely never change. It won't be good for anybody. Pepe says, I was never at a soccer game in Dortmund. I only watched a farewell game from a soccer player from Brazil who played 13 years in Dortmund. I only hear the soccer games in the radio. Ah, okay. Well, Hiroshima has a new soccer stadium now. It just opened up last year, and it's really amazing and beautiful looking and very close to the hospital where I go. Actually, there are several things very close to each other. The the shrine, Hiroshima Castle, Hiroshima City Hospital, and the sports complex. There's also a park nearby. I forget the name of it. but it's nearby. It's a really popular. It's become a trendy, stylish, popular area now. The intersection where Parco and Toho, or not Toho, there's a famous shopping area there, an underground shopping area, and the only underground line in Hiroshima called the Astrum Line runs through there. It's close to Hondori, uh, and the Pokemon Center, the museum. There are a lot of places literally right around each other within walking distance. And the soccer stadium is now located there, the new soccer stadium. So you could easily go to the shrine, visit the castle, and walk across the bridge over the road to the soccer stadium and watch a game. It's that close. Glenn says, "Okay, time to go again. Catch you all later." Thanks for stopping in, bro. You're a regular supporter, but more important than that, you're a friend, and I appreciate your support. And once again, my condolences to you and your family and your loss. I know it's not easy, but I do feel a little better knowing that this is a peaceful, at the very least, a peaceful and restful situation for your mom. So, once again, my condolences, and I will see you again soon. I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Debbie says, "See you." Uh, I didn't have a plan for how long this video would be. Just wanted to kind of say the things that I said, talk about what's coming up with the Akiya related items stuff that I'm going to be doing in Kagawa. But I'm also looking for some online work because I'm trying to, from next month, I need to be doing my own part time work while I'm still in school. And online is the best option for me if possible because uh, I'm going to have a high speed internet connection here from home a week from now, which I'm really, really looking forward to. No more just relying on my phone connection. Um, I've got a new laptop that I'll be able to use for video editing and work from here at home. But unfortunately, the part time jobs here in Japan are garbage. They don't pay enough. It's only like 1,000 yen per hour, and even at 1,500 yen per hour, which is closer to a teacher's rate, that still wouldn't really be enough to cover all my bills because I have tuition to cover, I have medical bills, um, not just ongoing medical bills every month. I go to the hospital and pay for medicine, but also debt, hospital debt I have to pay. All of my expenses, all of my expenses basically add up to your basic worker expenses. Rent, electricity, water, gas, insurance, etc., 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 plus my debts to the hospital and to the school, they add up to full time expenses. But I don't work full time, so that means I have to find better ways to make money online because even though I have some part time work to do that will be starting primarily from next month in Kagawa, it won't be enough. It won't even be near enough to cover my expenses, so I have to find other ways to do that. Oh, Hiyatori. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. It hasn't been a very um, busy live chat right now, but it's all good. I'm glad that some of the the key supporters have stopped in to say hello. Uh, yeah, 1,000 yen. 1,000 yen. Great. Oh, the computer? One. I'm not sure what you're asking there. The cost of the computer was around 100,000, and it's used. Normally, it sells for about 170,000. So I got it at about 70,000 yen cheaper. But I don't have the money to pay for that. So I got it on payments. I'm able to pay it out in 24 payments, which is still difficult, but uh, doable, I think, for me. So I pay monthly payments. I'm very lucky to be able to do that. Otherwise, I couldn't get a new computer, and I would be limited in the work that I can do in the editing. That's another reason why you don't see me doing a whole bunch of editing and really cool videos and stuff, because my desktop computer is the only one that can really do that because it has a super nice GPU and a lot of memory in it. But I've been living in my van, I can't use that desktop. But now that I have the laptop, I really need it, because not just doing stuff here, but also going back and forth to Kagawa, having a desktop would mean that I can't be portable so easily, and I can't go to cafes or coffee shops and just do things wherever. Having the laptop means I'm not limited now in where I can go and what I can do. But Hitori says it's okay for me, been a while. It's all right. I appreciate you stopping in because I haven't made much recently. How are you doing? What's been going on? And what do you have planned coming up? Pepe says the minimum what they have to pay you in Germany. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about minimum wage. Okay. I thought you were referring to the computer because you said great, show the computer, and then you said 1,000 yen. I was like, what? But now you're talking about the minimum wage. The national minimum wage has been increased incrementally in the past few years, and I think the the target is for it to be nationally at 1,000 yen very soon. But right now, the minimum is 950 that I was told in Kagawa, and of course 950 is nothing. That's basically garbage. I mean, I consider 1,500 an hour garbage, but I've been told by a couple of people, "Oh, that's not bad. That's a good." No, it's not. I don't care what they say. It's a garbage wage. If you have a man and his wife both making 1,500 an hour, they're making 3,000 yen an hour. The amount of things that they have to pay, that they must pay, okay? They must pay, not just income taxes, but resident taxes, which is literally a tax to exist in Japan. It doesn't matter if you're Japanese or foreign, you have to pay a resident tax. That's ridiculous. Even if you move to a mountaintop somewhere in Japan, you still owe some city, local government resident taxes because you exist. Just because you exist in the country, you have to pay a yearly tax. And that comes out to be quite substantial. It does. It absolutely does. And that's a tax on every person. That's not a tax on your household. That's a tax on every person. So once you get to a certain age, you have a resident tax on your ass. It's ridiculous. And some places it can be quite expensive, well over $1,000 just for one person. If I remember correctly, Danny told me that in Osaka it was over $1,000. And imagine being a foreign teacher in Osaka, and you're paying a high amount for rental and high living expenses. Everything is very expensive in Osaka, and then suddenly you surprise you get a resident tax sometime around April every year, and you have to pay like $1,200 or more for a resident tax. Well, guess what? $1,200 is basically it's basically what you'll be getting for a total salary for a month after taxes and after paying for health insurance and pension. So think about how crazy that is, how stupid and crazy that is. That in 1 year you have 12 salary payments once a month, right? And one of those months you completely lose that money to resident tax. Think about how stupid that is. Now, if somebody's making a lot more money, if they're very rich, or they've got a business, or they're making, a tremendous amount of money every month, they're going to be paying a similar resident tax to you. How's that fair? They literally don't take into consideration what your income is for the resident tax. They just look at where you are, and they base that on your resident tax. So even when I moved my address to Toyosaka, way out in the countryside, didn't matter. I'm still getting the resident tax of Higashi Hiroshima, which is a huge area. And now I'm beginning to understand a little more and more why some of these cities are very much interested in expanding and including more and more towns and areas within their city limits. And the reason for that is because more resident taxes and more yearly. That's another thing. If you own a property, you have yearly property taxes. So even though you own it, you don't really own it. Not really. Because in my opinion, if you own something and it's yours, you don't keep paying taxes on it. That's just stupid. But there is no homestead exemption tax like there is in America. So in America, if you own your property and you live there, okay, so I own a big piece of land and I have a house and that's where I live, it's my primary residence, I'm exempt with homestead exemption. I don't pay any yearly taxes on that land because it is mine. But in Japan, you own the property, you own the house, even if you don't have any mortgage payments, it doesn't matter. You will pay a yearly tax on that property. So, do you really own it? No, not really. You're still paying. In China, the system is different, but it's the same idea. But they're more straightforward about it. They say that you can't own the property, you can only lease it from the government. The government owns the property in all of China. If you want to use it, you have to pay a lease for 75 years. So if you build a house, you lease a piece of property, you build a house on it, the house is yours, but it's on leased property from the government. And at the end of that lease, if your future family or if you're old and you're still living there and you want to, renew that, you have to renew it and pay another lease. What's what's the difference between that and buying a property in Japan and continuing to pay taxes every year? I really don't see a difference, honestly. So I feel like in both cases, the government still owns the property, they still control the property, but they just change the rhetoric to make it seem like you own the property. That's just my feeling. But then again, I'm not a government lover. I'm looking for work right now, not a lot near me. I hear you. I'm looking for online work myself because it would be most beneficial for me, and especially if it's work from outside of Japan. Because if I can make like euros or US dollars, that would be an instant raise. I know it sounds crazy, but even if I can make just like $12 an hour, I would be very happy about that because if you multiply that times one and a half, that's how much you're going to get in yen, essentially. So $10 an hour is going to be like 1,500 yen per hour, which is basic teacher's wage, uh, and that's a lot better than minimum wage. That's one and a half times more than minimum wage. So that right there is a raise in Japan. So if I can get an online job making 15 or $20 an hour, that would be a huge deal for me because that would mean that I wouldn't have to spend as much time working. I could still dedicate enough time to studying Japanese for my Japanese classes, but I'd be making enough money to pay my bills, you see? And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now because I don't mind telling you guys this, but my monthly expenses, if you if you take the maximum amount of hours that I'm allowed to work as a student, it's 28 hours within a 7-day span. Okay, it's not per week. It's within a 7-day span. So if I work more than 28 hours within a 7-day span, I violate my visa, and they're very strict about me following that. So if I were to violate that, there's a good chance they would kick me out. They would take my visa away. It's very strict. So I can't work more than 28 hours within a 7-day period. If you multiply 28 hours times minimum wage, and if we assume that I got the maximum amount of work hours every 7 days, which is 28, and that's a lot for me to be doing while studying. But if I were able to do that, I would still come up about 70,000 yen short on my bills. I would still be like $500 short on my bills. I wouldn't be able to make enough money to pay for everything that I need to pay for right now. So I don't understand this idea when people tell me that they think that 1,500 yen per hour is good money. It's ridiculous. Uh, but best of luck to you in getting your work. I do believe that mindset plays a big part in that. So, you know, stay positive and keep your head up. Something will happen for you. My computer is from 2011. It's funny because I do have an old Toshiba laptop over there. It has no GPU, no video card other than what's built into the motherboard, and it's not special. It doesn't have a lot of memory. It frequently has issues. The only good thing about it is that I installed an SSD for the hard drive, so it runs a little faster, and it has Microsoft Office. That's pretty much it. But it's really no good for anything other than writing and internet. But the problem is that over the past year, it's been difficult to use even for writing. And the reason is because when you press certain keys, sometimes it just starts acting haywire, does strange things, and I haven't figured out how to fix it. So it became frustrating. Sometimes when I'm writing, it just does it over and over. Just it's been okay for like 2 hours, and suddenly it just starts acting up over and over again. It's so frustrating. So and it has no ability, no GPU, so I can't do video editing or anything like that on it. Not income percentage based then sucks. Yeah, some things don't make any sense. And they have a lag system. I don't know if you are aware of this, but some of your things that you will pay in Japan, like certain types of taxes and fees, and even health insurance. Okay, the health insurance that you pay each month, it will be based on what your income was last year. Okay, so let's say you made a pretty high income last year, but then you lost your job or you got sick and you couldn't work and you lost your job, and then this year you're struggling to because you have what you did what a lot of people do when you're making better money. You have a little bit nicer apartment. You probably have some credit card bills or some loans. Maybe you have a car note, etc. Right? But when you were working, it wasn't a problem to pay for those things. But now that you're not working, it becomes a problem to pay for those things. And guess what? Since you made a lot of money last year, a lot more money last year, your health insurance this year and some of your taxes and your pension payments, that's another thing. Your pension payments and some other things, those things are often based on what you made the year before. So if this year you're struggling to make money, you're out of luck on some things. You can't just go down to the city office and say, hey, I'm not making any money. I can't pay this. They'll say, well, this is you're paying this year based on what you made last year, and last year you paid based on what you made the year before. So maybe last year you didn't pay very much because the year before that you weren't making as much money. But now you're paying the price. You could say you're paying the price for making more money last year. It's like they want to make sure they get the maximum from you. So if you're making good money, they're definitely happy to tax you more and to raise your fees. But whenever the time rolls around where you really need it, like the situation I had, where I had to take off work last year, not last year, but basically at the end of the year before that, because of my health, all of last year I had to pay much higher fees than I could actually afford. It was ridiculous. The good thing is that This year, whenever the new tax stuff comes out and my new fees are calculated and I receive those things in the mail, which they told me I should be receiving, within the next couple of months, they're going to be really, really low because last year my income was zilch. So I'm really looking forward to that, but it's very difficult because the system doesn't change immediately as your situation changes. And I feel like it's such a ridiculous way of doing things. But once again, what can you do? Property tax here is 500 a year for where I live, rural California. Property tax sucks. Um, it's like the government telling you, well, honestly, it's mafia is what it is. I don't see a difference between government and mafia. It's literally the same thing. I mean, IRS is protection money. If you don't pay, they'll threaten you, and if you still don't pay, you get thrown in jail. What's the difference between that and getting threatened by mafia or beat up by mafia because you don't pay? There's literally no difference. It literally is legalized mafioso. That's what it is. Um, how are you? Just joined. Arza, what kind of visa are you on? Arza, welcome. It's good to see you. I am currently in Japan on a student visa. I've been living here now for over 4 years straight through. It's my second time to live in Japan. The first time I was only here for a few months, couldn't find any decent work, but now I've been living here now for over 4 years. My first few visas were just work visas for teaching. I had the humanities visa because I was at a language training school for a while. I switched over to a professor type visa to teach in the school system, so elementary, middle school, and high school. And then I had my health issue come up about 2 years ago. I was able to muscle through the rest of the year, primarily because my company pushed me to do so. They didn't want me to take off. At the end of the year, I took time off and I had health insurance benefits, so I was able to get a portion of my salary every month, and I just started going to the hospital regularly. But I started attending full time. I changed my visa to a student visa, and I changed to that full time this January, last January. That semester ended in April, and then we started well, it basically ended at the end of March, somewhere around the almost midpoint of April. We started the new semester, so I'm still studying. I've got one more year of school, so I'm on my student visa. And I'm studying in Onomichi, Hiroshima, which is a picturesque place, a very nice place to. It's quiet, but the cool thing is that there's a Shinkansen station nearby. So if I want to go anywhere, if I want to go east or west or wherever, I can go easily. I can literally walk down there in 5 minutes. It's a nice, quaint place. Uh, I had an old 2010 Lenovo, but it couldn't even load YouTube. I eventually got a 2012 MacBook, and that was fine, but I don't really need a laptop anymore. I just have a desktop I made in 2015. Yeah, the desktop was more than enough for me when I was at home. When I was able to be at home, I much prefer desktop. It's so much stronger, and you get much more bang for the buck. Plus, it's upgradable. There are a variety of reasons why it's better than a laptop. But unfortunately, there was a job that I was applying for recently. It's like an online teaching job where you do classes for about 45 minutes, and they required higher specs. And even though my desktop has specs that I think that are more than good enough, it really is. It has a bang up GPU. A friend of mine works for Nvidia, and he's in Tokyo. He's a Taiwanese friend. He was able to ship me a really nice GPU for nothing. He just gave it to me as a gift, and he said he can't resell GPUs, and he can't. He doesn't get a lot of them, but sometimes he's able to give them away as promotional items. So I was super lucky to get this really awesome GPU for my desktop about a year and a half ago or so, and I also have 16 GB of RAM in that desktop and a couple of SSDs. So all of that's okay. The main problem was with my processor. My processor was only like a sixth or seventh generation processor, and they said you have to have at least a 10th generation processor. So they wouldn't approve that computer. The laptop I have now is good enough. It meets all of the requirements, but wouldn't you know it, now that I have it, they haven't responded. They're being very, very, very slow about getting back to me concerning the online teaching position. And I have mixed emotions about it because number one, I'm tired of teaching. I'm just burnt out on it. But the other side of it's good hourly pay per class. It's good pay, and I need that right now. So it's kind of sucks and makes me feel happy at the same time. Or you sleep by the fishes. Well, I actually am a fish. I'm a Pisces. I was born in the sign of Pisces, so I guess that would be like returning home, going back to my family. Sorry to hear about your health issue, but glad to see you're okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, I'm getting by right now. I think having an actual rental home, if you guys can kind of see, this is the house that I'm renting in Onomichi, traditional Japanese style house. Very quiet here right now, and this is my good neighbor lives right over there. He's a really nice guy. We had coffee again recently, and we hung out and chatted, and he told me about some community stuff. I'm looking forward to participating in a cleanup. They have a spring cleanup coming. They do this twice a year, he told me, where the community goes out on a certain day together and they go around for an hour or two and do some cleanup. And I think what we're supposed to do on that day is walk down through this little river that runs through the community and clean that out. Like take some tools, cut the grass that's growing there. Uh, I don't think there's a problem really with garbage, but if there's any garbage, we pick that up and just do that for a couple of hours one morning together. So I'm looking forward to that. A little community thing. 10th generation seems excessive. Well, yeah, I felt the same way because even if you get like an i5 processor, 10th generation i5 processor, you're, I feel like that's still kind of expensive. And here's the dumb thing, the really dumb thing, okay? Uh, Arza, check this out. They want me to have that computer before they even do the final interview. They explained to me the reason is because they use their software. They have this high end software, and they use it not only for the classes, but they will use the same software when they interview me. And this will assure that the computer I'm using can use their software. But this means that if you don't already have the entire setup, and it's not just the computer, it's the computer, the headset, the approved headset, the approved camera, all of these, and the approved backdrop. They want a green backdrop. They literally want all of that stuff in place when you do the interview. So if you don't have these things, you have to go and buy these things just for an interview. To me, it's stupid. It's just stupid to expect people to have all these things before an interview. That's like going out and spending a couple $1,000s just for an interview for a teaching position, an online teaching position. Ridiculous, in my opinion. But that's the way it is. Pepe says, "Does your friend need some more friends?" Awesome. Does your friend need some more friends? We can always use more friends. Arza says, "Can you fact check this rumor I heard a while ago? Can you renew your tourist visa by traveling to South Korea and coming back to Japan?" Okay, that depends. Okay, I for me as an American, I get a what's called a courtesy visa. I don't actually have to apply for a tourist visa to Japan. So if I'm in America and I want to come to Japan, all I have to do is book my flights, book my hotel, and then land here. Uh, on the plane, somewhere along the way, you're going to have to fill out a card. If you can fill it out on the plane before you arrive, it's better because you can have it done when you get to immigration. You don't have to, stop and fill it out and then get placed further back in line. But basically, you write on there your information, like what you're coming here for, the address and the phone number of your hotel. You're giving them some information instead of just showing up and saying, "I'm going to wander around Japan." They don't like that. They want to know more information about why you're here, where you're going to be, and what you're going to be doing. So on that piece of paper, you write that information. Then uh, because of the relationship that the U.S. has with Japan, they get that information. They grant me landing permission. They put a stamp on my passport. I go into Japan. I have 90 days, okay? It's not 3 months, it's 90 days to be here. If I want to stay longer, I only have really two options. One is to apply for an extension, and that would enable me to stay in the country and not exit. But the easier but more expensive and time consuming way is to exit. So I literally could just fly to South Korea even for a day, or maybe just one night, just spend one night and fly back and get landing permission again. But the thing is, if you do that too many times, or maybe even one time, that they might be a little suspicious as to what you're doing. You have to give them an explanation as to why you did this. But if you do this repeatedly, that's a pattern, and they're thinking that you're probably here, doing some work or something. Now, it's possible that you've saved up quite a bit of money from your job in your country, and you bought like an old house here, an old Kominka or something, and you're just spending all your time renovating it and building it, and cleaning it. And you might need 6 months or 7 months to do it, and you don't want to apply for a long-term visa, and that's why you're going in and out. It's possible, okay? Everybody's situation is different. But if you're able to show that to them, this is my house, this is my address, I own it, I'm spending all my time out there fixing it and whatever, and I have to exit to renew my visa and come back and continue working on my house, and it's going to take X amount of months to finish. That's more of a legitimate excuse. So in that situation, yes, you can just exit and renew your visa by coming back. But if you're talking about some type of visa that you have to apply for, like some actual type of visa that you have to submit and apply for, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question because I would assume that if you actually have to apply for a visa, then there's no way to exit and come back and have it renewed. I don't think that's possible. You're going to have to go through some kind of application process. Um, let's see here. Found in Japan. Good morning. Oh, morning. Found in Japan. It's good to see you. I see you've been posting a lot of videos lately, and like I told Daniel and Yuka earlier, I haven't had much time to watch anybody else's videos or join live streams due to my studies here, and I've got the GLPT coming up in a few months, and I really like to be able to do well at least on the N5. I have to. There is a follow-up test I can take, so it's no big deal if I can't. Well, they tell me at the school it's no big deal if you don't do well in the GLPT. I can always take another test at school later on. So there are other options to follow up. But uh, since the new semester started a couple of weeks ago, I've been really focused in on that. And on weekends, I've been going to occasionally. I've been down there a couple of times to Kagawa to do some preparatory setup and explore some work, some part-time work that I'm going to be doing there. So I haven't had a chance to see anyone else's content so much recently, which it kind of sucks because I like to support everyone else and what they're doing. might as well be your own business at that point with all the requirements. Yeah, and if you've got the money, you can definitely set up your own business. But if you're going to set up your own business and have your own visa here, you have to have full-time employees and you have to have your own office here. It doesn't have to be like a real business building. They told me, for example, my Kominka, as long as I have a room set up like an office and I can show them a picture of it. So one of the rooms, I have a desk. I have a desk and a phone and a chair, and I take a picture of it and I say, "This is my office." It's good enough. Uh, so, but you also have to invest I think it's 5 5 million. Yeah, 5 million yen. So you have to invest 5 million yen. You have to have an office set up, and you have to have two full-time employees. It's not cheap. It's much cheaper, much easier to just fly here on a tourist visa, do what you need to do, exit, and come back. Honestly, yeah. Found in Japan says no worries. Got to get done what you need to. I'm trying to work on a video about how I studied. That's good. Um, yeah, I've been kind of digging around myself and learning for myself what works and what doesn't, especially with memorizing kanji. I do have a way that seems to work pretty well, but I have watched some other videos of some other people and how they've learned. I just wish that my school could integrate these things a little better because one of the teachers just told me a few days ago she was shocked to find out that I'm supposed to take the JLPT in July. Apparently, she didn't know. Now, she is one of the new teachers, but she wasn't aware. She didn't think I was going to be taking the JLPT until December. And she's like, "Oh no, no, the July test is closed. They're not taking any more entrance or applications for that test. You'll have to take in December." And I said, "You don't understand. Last semester I already paid the school for my July test." And she goes, "Oh, you did? I didn't know that." And it made me feel like, well, then what exactly am I paying for at this school if they don't really even know the flow of what's going on, and they're not able to properly help me prepare for those Japanese language tests in that are coming up and that are required. They're required. You have to show progress in order to keep your visa. You can't just study and fail and study and fail or not show up to your classes or whatever. You have to show the government that you're actually not only attending class and being there, but you have to also show improvement on your tests. You have to. And the main way they do that is JLPT. But for those of you who don't know, there are follow up tests that are alternatives to the JLPT that are acceptable by the government. It's just that the JLPT is kind of the standard. So it is possible for somebody to actually take some Japanese language tests and pass them and be doing okay, but to not have any N5, N4, N3 rankings. It's possible. It really is. So basically, what I learned at the school is that if I take the JLPT in July and I don't even pass the N5, which I should, but if I don't, if just for example, if I were not able to pass that, then the school would hold a follow up test with me later on after doing some more review and study with me to make sure I was ready for it. And then my understanding is that they would actually conduct the test. And they told me that it's not a big deal, because as long as you're trying and you're working and you're showing that, then it's not a big deal. If you're blowing off your classes and you're not coming to the school and you're failing the test, then that's a recipe for you lose your visa. So, for those of you who might be stressed out, like I was before, worrying about, oh my God, if I don't pass at least my first test on the JLPT, my visa is in threat of being revoked. Generally, that's not true. As long as you're going to classes, you're trying, and you can always take another test. You can keep reviewing and taking another test. Obviously, that's not a permanent window that's open, but if somebody's clearly trying and working on it, they're not just gonna be like, "Oh no, you failed that test. You gotta go." It's not that quick. So don't stress about it too much. Uh, but yeah, I'm interested in hearing someone else's take on how they study. Rinja Momo. What's up, Mike? Mike Goo. Good morning, Mr. English. Good morning, Mr. Momo, Mr. Rinja. How is Shenzhen? Are you in Shenzhen right now? Or did you go somewhere for the holiday weekend? Man, the Astros have come back a little bit, and they won more games recently than I think they've won 4 of the last 5, which is really great. So they are improving a little bit, but they're still a little behind. They're ahead of the Angels now. Yeah, but still got a ways to go before they catch it with where the Yankees are. Found in Japan, there are also taxes and stuff you need to. Yeah, yeah. Japan is all about the taxes and the fees. It's funny because I made the joke a long time ago when after living here for a couple of years, consistently straight through, I said, people call America land of the free, but Japan is land of the fee. It really is. And after thinking about that a lot and just observing what goes on around me, I feel like that's because they have to find some way to pay for all of the elderly services and care that's required in the country. That's, I think, in my opinion, the primary thing they need the money for. Uh, Arza says, wow. The kanji kente is a beast. I was going to try and then gave up. Well, luckily for me, as a person who's always been an artist, like I like to draw pencils and pens, especially I I've never gotten into painting, but I like to draw, and so I much enjoy the creativity and the beautiful look of the kanji. And because of my story writing uh, slant, whenever I'm doing kanji, it's easy for me to create kind of a little scenario or story in my mind that links the readings, the pronunciations, and the way the kanji appears, and memorize it that way, and it makes it much easier for me. It's easy to do that in the beginning in short term. So literally, if I had to test all those kanji, and for some people that's amazing, they can't imagine doing that. But that's not the problem for me. When I do it that way, I can memorize it quickly, but it's not in my long-term memory yet. Keeping it in your long-term memory means that you have to see it over and over and over again. You have to keep reviewing it until it becomes part of, your deep long-term memory. And unfortunately, the way the school studies with me, they don't work with you on how to do that, and they're always moving on to new material. We're going through so much material every single day. We're constantly getting new material. Literally every single day we're going over something new. So I don't have the ability to review through the school. I have to figure out a way to do that myself. Everything I'm getting every day, I have to figure out a way to integrate it so that I review it and won't forget it. Keep it in the long-term memory. Staycation for the holiday, monsoon season. Oh my God, I don't miss the monsoon season in Guangzhou. It's funny because my hometown was definitely hotter and more humid than Guangzhou. But that doesn't mean that Guangzhou wasn't bad and wasn't humid, because it was. It was bad and humid. But what really was sucky, I think probably what I hated the most about the weather there was that even when the monsoons would come in or the heavy rains would come in, there would be no relief. That's similar to how it is in Louisiana. Even when the rain comes in and the heavy rains and stuff, it's still going to be hot and humid, and you're not going to get relief. So it just makes the weather even more despicable and difficult. But around here, or even better, out at my house in Higashi Hiroshima, and in Hiroshima City, even during the summer when it rains, you get relief. And that's one of the reasons I really like the weather around here. People say, oh, Japan is so hot. They have no idea. Go live in Louisiana for a while. Go live in South China for a while. You'll know what hot and humid is, because around here that it's tolerable. And just to give you an idea of how nice it is during the summer out near my house, the first time I spent a night there in August. This is this was during August, okay, one of the hottest months, one of the two hottest months of the year. And that night inside my house, it got so cold I had to cover up with two blankets. I think I used one regular blanket and a futon blanket. It got cold at night in August. Now, granted, the elevation out there is much higher, but that's amazing and awesome. And that house has no air conditioner. This house, if you'll notice up there on the wall, it has an air conditioning unit. But today's a beautiful day. Skies are blue. I've got the window open. The it's just there's a screen on there, and the air is just blowing to the house, and it's nice and cool in here. I feel cold actually. I've got my pants on and my t-shirt, but my arms feel cold. And these old houses like this, they do really well during the summertime, but during the winter they get really cold, really cold. Um, a few important pieces coming back for the Stros. Yeah, did you see they demoted uh, Jose Abreu? They knocked him down to the minors. They're paying him a ton of money, but they knocked him down to the minors. They're saying that this is probably the biggest bust of money in Houston sports history. It's so sad because we had such high expectations for him, but maybe they can do better now. When are you going to get a tattoo with wrong kanji? I've never gotten a tattoo. I've never even had a moment where I thought about getting a tattoo. I've never had I don't have anything against tattoos. It would be easy to get a small one on a part of my body that's covered most of the time. But it benefits me not to have any tattoos here because many of the public baths and stuff don't allow people to go in with tattoos. You'd either have to find a way to cover them up or you just wouldn't be able to go in. So that benefits me. But even so, I haven't really thought of a reason to get a tattoo put on my body. But I would hope that because of my kanji studies, that I would be able to pick a character that would be exactly what I thought it was, rather than the typical wrong kanji foreigner tattoo. That would be my thinking. Uh, Arza or Okinawa, Philippines. Well, even Okinawa does not have the the type of heat humidity combination that exists in Louisiana. I've looked that up. Even Okinawa is not as bad as Louisiana. So there's nowhere in Japan that I found that is as bad as living in Louisiana. But Philippines, places like that don't even begin to appeal to me. And the reason is because there's essentially no real four season setup. I don't want to live in a place that's warm or hot all the time. I absolutely do appreciate the warmth and the heat that comes with the springtime and the summertime even, because man, it gets so cold in some places here. If you especially if you're having to spend a lot of time sitting and studying, you're not moving around too much. And with a health issue, to be honest, I grew up as a kind of a hot natured guy. I loved the cold. Even in really cold weather, I'd be wearing t-shirts. People used to think, man, what are you made of, ice? A friend of mine told me that one day I was going to be found frozen in like the Antarctic or something in a block of ice, and that's how I was going to die. But whenever they went to remove me from the ice, they were going to see a big smile on my face because I died happy. That was his impression of how I loved the cold weather so much. But since I've had this health issue the past couple of years, I realized that winter has become quite difficult for me. And even cool weather sometimes, I'm like, man, why is it so freaking cold today? And I look at the temperature and it's not really that cold. It's just cool. But for some reason to me, it's just chilling me to my bones. And I know it's because of my health condition in the blood flow in my body is not good. So, but yeah, Philippines is one of those places. I view it similar to like Vietnam or Thailand or whatever. I definitely want to visit and spend some time there, but I would never be able to live there long term unless my body changes so much to where I just want and need the warmth all the time. And who knows, maybe that will happen, but right now it's not happening. Nice seeing you, Brandon. I have to go. Hey, Tori, thank you so much for stopping in. I know it's been a while, but I do appreciate you coming in and chatting. So take it easy. I wish you the best and hope to see you again in the future. And good luck with the job finding. I'm sure that you're going to be able to get something real soon. So uh, keep your chin up on that. Arza says hot, then hot rain. You're absolutely right. That's Louisiana. Um, I know it sounds extreme, but this is absolutely the honest truth. There were times when I'd be at home and in Louisiana, and it would be like a day off or a weekend or something, and I would realize that I want to go check the mailbox or I want to go get the mail, and the mailbox is out by the road, so it's about a 30-second walk at the most to get to the mailbox. But then I'd open the door and I would feel the weather outside and immediately change my mind and close the door. Because this is what would happen. If I were to walk outside and go get my mail and come back, maybe 1 minute tops, okay? I'm already completely drenched in sweat from head to toe. And I have to take a shower and change clothes just because I went outside. That's stupid. I hated that weather there. And I've never lived anywhere with weather quite that bad. But my friend here says, Rinja Mo, he said, that typical monsoon, they've got the hot weather, humid weather, and then monsoons coming in. I didn't have to deal with monsoons in my hometown, but we had tornadoes. So trade one thing for another, I guess. Found in Japan says, good luck with your studies and health. Have to get the kids outside and walking around. I understand that. Appreciate you stopping in, and thanks for the encouragement. And I hope to see you in one of your videos very soon. I'll stop by. Maybe now that there's a short holiday, I have an opportunity to do that and see you again next time. And I think it might be also a good time for me to pause uh, and finish this live chat. It's been really great talking with you guys, and I hope that your Akiya Japan life. Hey, how's it going? It's nice to see you. And I was actually just planning to wrap up here in just a moment. I have been sharing some information about various things, but the primary thing was I wanted to give a preview about what's coming up with some of the Akiya related items that are coming through at my friend's recycle center in Kagawa. And I haven't decided which weekend I'm going there, but this month in May, I will be going back out there again. And I hope that while I'm there, my plan is to take some video of some of the items that are there and sharing that with you. I think you'll be very interested to know uh, what it's like out there. And my friend speaks some English and she is studying. I hope that somehow we can do like an interview. It would be really cool to talk with her and get some information about uh, and share with you guys about how uh, some things in Japan are handled. Like the how do you put it? The unneeded, unwanted, left behind items, whether the house is going to be demolished or if it's just an old family home that they want to, or if their current home that has old things or their shops, all that stuff goes somewhere. Where does it go? It goes to the recycle store, or it goes, or not store, but the recycle factory, and it's destroyed or recycled or resold. So it'll be really cool to sit down with her and talk about that and ask some questions. And if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. And if I don't think to ask them, then I can add them to my question list. But uh, anyway, yeah, nice catching up, dude. Talk more offline. Yeah, you and I will be talking soon. So perhaps even tomorrow, I believe. I think that's what we were talking about. But anyway, thank you all for stopping in. Peppy, you've been here like the whole time. Very awesome. Thanks so much. And much love to you all. I'm feeling pretty decent right now. Not amazing, but pretty decent. And part of that has to do with having support from people like you. And I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you, and I hope you're all having a good weekend, good holiday wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Yes, Arza, take care. And until then, John, bye bye.